starting the last channel. Same families. You're good. Running what?
Good morning. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm Prim Escalona, the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, and we're here today to announce an Operation Flip the Switch, which is a joint effort of the Northern District of Alabama U.S. Attorney's Office and the ATF National Field Division. This operation is focused on cracking down on the possession of machine gun conversion devices. First, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize our law enforcement partners who are here today. We have ATF Special Agent in Charge, Marcus Watson, ATF Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Tyra Cunningham, BPD Chief Scott Thurmond, FBI Special Agent in Charge, Carlton Peoples, Acting SAC for HSI, PJ Lavoie, our U.S. Marshal, Marty Keeley, our U.S. Secret Service Special Agent in Charge, Patrick Davis, our Mayor, Randall Woodfin, Counselor LaTanya Tate, who is the chair of the Public Safety Committee for the Birmingham City Council, Jefferson County Bessemer Cutoff Division District Attorney Lanice Washington, and with Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama, Frank Bearfield. I think having all of these agencies here today really underscores the importance of our federal, state, and local partnerships who are all aimed at working collectively to combat violent crime in our community. And as we continue to work together to combat violent crime, we wanted to bring the public's attention to one particular type of gun violence that is happening in this city that is particularly pervasive and deadly. And those are machine gun conversion devices. These are also known as switches, sears, or chips. They convert commercially available semi-automatic firearms, such as a Glock pistol, into a fully automatic weapon. Because of that level of firepower, these are mini machine guns that are particularly dangerous and deadly. Under federal law, switches themselves are considered machine guns, not firearms accessories. And what this means is that no one is permitted to own, possess, or use a switch. The offense carries a 10-year maximum prison sentence. At this point, I'd like to ask Special Agent in Charge Marcus Watson to come forward to talk a little bit more about these dangerous devices. And after that, Chief Thurmond is going to come discuss the prevalence and the impact of switches in Birmingham.
Good morning, and thank you, Prim. So as the U.S. Attorney mentioned, machine gun conversion devices, or commonly known as switches, have permeated the firearm possession of young people in particular throughout the country. So it's not just a problem in Alabama, but most of the urban areas have been hit with an unbelievable amount of these devices that have turned a semi-automatic machine gun, or in some cases a rifle, into a fully automatic machine gun that wreaks absolute havoc in the neighborhoods. Many of these devices look simply like a piece of metal, or metal with the protruding piece that engages the firearm and makes it a fully automatic weapon capable of discharging hundreds of rounds in a short period of time. Most of your major crime scenes that you've seen lately, again, throughout the country, there's been a device used either by the shooter or the person that was shooting, especially if it's a scene where there's hundreds of rounds. It's pretty clear that something other than just a semi-automatic weapon was used. There's no place that that device has a purpose in the United States. Darn sure doesn't have a place in any corner or any street in any urban city. There's in and of itself, it's contraband, so there's no real sporting purpose for it. So again, as the U.S. Attorney said, we are cracking down. My Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Ms. Cunningham, and myself have made a proposal to surge some resources here to try to assist in combating the problem with the machine gun conversion device. Thank you.
So good morning. As we continue to work to combat gun violence in our city, we continue to see Glock switches used, or semi-automatic machine gun devices used in many of these cases. The case this weekend that occurred in North Birmingham, we believe fully automatic weapons were used in that case. Where we used to see a dozen or less shell casings on a scene, we're seeing 75 to 100 or even more than 100 on a crime scene because, as you'll see after shortly, how quickly these rounds are fired from these weapons. There's a lot of damage that can be done very quickly because of these weapons. As ATF just said, there's no place for these things in our city or in our state or in our country. And the damage that it's doing to our citizens and to families is just absolutely destroying them. It's a lot of destruction very quickly. But we're seeing a lot of these devices. We're recovering a lot of these guns with these devices, but there's still a lot of them on the streets. Most of our criminals are using these devices. They have them because they know of what it's capable of, and they're just out to cause harm to a lot of our citizens. And so we've got to work with our federal partners, our state partners, to get these things off of the streets, to hold those accountable who possess these weapons, and make our city a safer place. So we look forward to working with our federal partners, all of them, and making our city a safer place. But we've got to get these things off of our streets.
So one thing that's important to know about switches is that there is not a companion state law that prohibits them or the possession of them. So we take cases federally. Our office has been committed to investigating and prosecuting switches for years. But as we've seen this problem escalate, we feel like now is the time to really try to do more. So through Operation Flip the Switch, we're focusing on 3 general areas. The first is we are prioritizing these prosecutions. Switches are illegal at the federal level, and so we are committed to prosecuting the possession and use of switches when we see that in Birmingham. The second thing is that we're partnering with our state and local law enforcement for training and officer awareness. ATF is going to work with BPD, the sheriff's office, and others in our county to make sure that all officers know about these devices, know what they're looking for, and know who to call when they find one. The third thing we're going to do is we want to increase public awareness, and we want to increase the knowledge that the general citizens have about switches, what they look like, how they operate, when you see one, who to call and report that to. And so in doing that, we are going to partner with Crime Stoppers because the important thing is to get these off the street. The kind of creative thing about prosecuting Glock switches is a lot of times it does not require witness testimony. These are evidence-based prosecutions. And so if you see one and you report that to Crime Stoppers, we have no need to come and have you testify in trial. So we can prosecute those based on those tips. ATF will investigate those and we'll prosecute those at the federal level. So we're really asking the public to look at this, to be aware, and to report when you see someone with a Glock switch or know about someone with a Glock switch or someone who is making Glock switches in your community. If you report that to Crime Stoppers, then we'll take it from there. This is a whole of law enforcement approach, and I am so pleased that we have Mayor Woodfin here with us today. The mayor knows the important role of the community plays when it comes to violent crime, combating violent crime, and particularly gun violence and these very deadly and dangerous switches. So he's a great partner on these issues, and I'm thrilled that he's going to have a few remarks for us today. Following that, we're also so proud to partner with Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama, and we look forward to hearing more from them about what the community can really do to come alongside us in this effort. So, Mayor?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to our U.S. Attorney. But also thank you to LaTonya Tate, who chairs our Public Safety Committee for the Birmingham City Council, along with Chief Thurman, the Birmingham Police Department. I speak for Chief Thurman and LaTonya Tate as well as her 8 other colleagues when I say that we are extremely grateful for our local partners. That includes the Sheriff's Office and all of our federal partners you see standing here today, as well as our 2 DAs, the Jefferson County Cutoff, as well as Jefferson County. This is an extremely important topic that I want to speak very plainly to. I'll start by saying what's good. We have cleared half a year in 2024, and I can stand before you and simply say that all other crimes, rape, robbery, felony assaults, crimes against property that include theft, auto theft, burglary, are all down in the city limits of Birmingham. So let's talk about what's up. Homicides are up, and particularly related to homicides, the style of homicides, which is by gun violence. And then by gun violence, there are particularly these devices that are used on guns, Glocks, Glock switches, which allows semi-automatics to be converted to automatic. If you were listening to Chief Thurman, what he said, he's been doing this longer than I have as it relates to serving the community. But since I've been mayor, I've definitely noticed an increase on the amount of shell casings on crime scenes. That simply states that Glock switches are being used more. There are a subset of people in our community who don't care about the community. They don't care about everyday citizens, residents. They don't care about children, seniors, elders. We got to take those people off the streets. They're riding around with these Glock switches, and their intent is to inflict massive amount of casualties and carnage as they can. And unfortunately, what we've seen even this past weekend, because of that, because of these type of devices, too many innocent people are being killed. So with that, it's simple, as the U.S. Attorney has said, we collectively, and grateful for these federal partners, are ushering in resources and giving us all of our attention, all of our focus, through coordination and partnership, with the laser eye on getting these type of devices off the streets. And I just want to encourage the U.S. Attorney and everyone else that's listening to this, sit them down for all 10 years, because they only want to harm people in our community. With that said, there is another important partner, as the U.S. Attorney has said, and that is Crime Stoppers. Citizens listening to this, I'll say it, Frank will repeat it. There's a number you can dial if you are aware of a person that has Glock switches or the 3D printer that makes them, because we want to go after everyone. Please dial 205-254-7777. Again, that number is 205-254-7777 to dial Crime Stoppers. Share with us the information, who actually has a Glock switch or who is making them. With that, I bring you Frank Bearfield with Crime Stoppers to give you more information.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know how I could just say again what the mayor just told everyone. Crime Stoppers pays a reward for the issuance of a felony warrant or the arrest of someone for a felony, and certainly owning, just possessing these switches is a felony in and of itself. And I know the very next question that someone will ask is, what sort of reward am I going to get paid if I provide this information? And it could range from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars, depending upon the significance of the information that you provide to us. And when we provide this to law enforcement, they may go in and find a 3D printer with 300 of these switches available. That would result in a very high reward. If you find one that someone's carrying around in their pocket, that's just as illegal as having 50. So it would be very important that we receive the names of anyone who's concealing or carrying these switches, and there'll be a good reward there. We approve our rewards every week, so you can literally provide a tip this week and get paid for it next week. Thank you.
I think that concludes our prepared remarks, but all of our partners would be open to taking questions from the podium or one-on-one if anyone has any.
Well, yes, to get these releases for you on Glock switch prosecution, you get one comes here, one comes here. But do you have a number of prosecutions that y'all have carried out on switches?
So in the past about year and a half, I would say we've done about 41 cases. Some of they're in various stages. Some are in investigations, prosecutions, sentenced. I think 10 have finally been sentenced, going all the way through in that time period. But we're at about 40 of those.
Are there any particular challenges?
So normally, no, none that are particularly challenging. Like I said, the nice part is that it's evidence-based. So as with anything, there are elements we have to prove, and a lot of times it requires ATF to verify that it is a Glock switch or a switch. And when we colloquially call them Glock switches. They are not made by Glock. A lot of times they'll have, the people who make them will put Glock on them, but they're not associated with Glock in any way. They're not associated with any legitimate firearms manufacturer. But we don't have any particular challenges, but it is one of the things where a lot of times it just has to work through the system of, because our, friends at BPD and the sheriff's office are the ones that are seeing those at the local level, and then they work with ATF to investigate those, and then they bring them for prosecution or office. So sometimes it takes a little while, but there are not any particular challenges to it.
Just to kind of piggyback off of some of those numbers, where are you seeing in Birmingham adults who kind of compare?
So we have seen higher numbers in Jefferson County, Birmingham, Jefferson County. We've seen some in Tuscaloosa as well. We did a push in Tuscaloosa where we, in 1 month, I believe, indicted about 10 Glock switch cases there. But I would say most of what we're seeing is probably in Birmingham. We're seeing some in Huntsville. They are everywhere in the district. They are used the most, it seems like, in Birmingham and Jefferson County, if that makes sense.
Are there a lot of people making them MC, where a lot of people are making them here locally in this one?
So we know that when they first started, and Marcus may be able to speak to this a little bit more too, but when they first started, we were seeing them being imported from other countries. Now we have started seeing them being manufactured with a 3D printer in the district. So they still come in through the mail. HSI and the Postal Service are very much aware of that, and they run operations looking for ones that come in through the mail, but we've kind of seen them now come in lots of different ways. And Marcus, you may have more thoughts on that.
I think Prim is spot on. Initially, the importation described as something other than a machine gun conversion device. HSI has done a great job dealing with the illegal importation of them, but it became easy with a 3D printer, cost-effective with a 3D printer, that you can manufacture this piece of filament, hard plastic, attach it to a gun, and you're in business. So that's why they became so accessible, so easy, so fast. It's not something that you got to take a machine and lathe, and it's not that. It's literally a 3D printer and a program, and you've got a machine gun.
How are most of these recovered? When you recover the weapon, or I find them on persons, or how are you that may be?
So a lot of time it's usually our officers in the field, whether it be us, Jefferson County Sheriff, or some of our other local partners. As the U.S. Attorney said, we're the ones who are usually coming and contact them first. So it's either through a traffic stop, or we've an investigation, a search warrant, something of that nature. And the switches have evolved over time. They used to be visible from the outside of the weapon. Now they're making ones that are not visible from the outside of the weapon, which makes it challenging for someone to see it, or for law enforcement. So we have to disassemble the gun a little bit, take the slide off, and look inside to see, has that gun been converted, or does it have that device inside of it? So it has evolved from where it started to where it is today. And so many of the ones that we're seeing today are internal, and looking from the outside of the weapon, you wouldn't know that it's fully automatic unless you start disassembling or you see it actually fired.
So like if you're at a traffic stop and somebody has a gun and it has one of the switches that's not visible, which you definitely kind of warn or.
So that's one of the things that's now challenging in the state of Alabama, because it's legal to, if you're not a convicted felon or don't have a protection from abuse or something like that, it makes it a little more challenging for our officers to take things to the next level, because just having a firearm in a vehicle is not necessarily illegal. So what gives you, it's, as the U.S. Attorney said, it's working through that and making sure that we're doing things the correct way, because those are things that will play in when we try to do an indictment or go to court or things of that nature. Yes.
See, I mean, we all know how dangerous these things are. A lot of our viewers do. People that are using internet probably not watching this and probably don't care. So what can you and your officers do to be proactive with all the talent that they just mentioned?
So we take a number of guns off the street every year. We've taken almost 1,000 off the street already this year, and it's just July. So just to show that we're working, we're taking guns off the street. We took about 2,000 off the street, a little over 2,000 last year. I think since Mayor Woodfin's tenure, about 17,000 did we talk about the other day? So since 2017, BPD has taken about 17,000 firearms off the streets of Birmingham. So we continue to do our part. There's just so much of it. It's so prevalent among a small group of our population. It's challenging. It's not that we're not trying. It's not that our men and women aren't working hard. You know, and the mayor touched on earlier, crime's down about 11.5% in the city of Birmingham right now. The problem is we have this massive homicide problem, and that's the one that's the most violent. That's destroying families. That's taking people away. They're losing their lives. And so that's where we've got to work. If we can get a handle on this, we can have an impact on our homicides, and we can continue to make Birmingham a safer city for everyone.
Chief, I just want to add, you said those criminals are probably not watching this, and you're right. But their mother, grandmother, family members, friends, and a host of other people they know are. So our conversation with them is very direct and simple. Your son, your loved one, your grandson, they'll have to sit down for 10 years if they're riding around with this. I'm pretty sure this message, this is not in isolation. We'll continue to have this conversation about, let's just say, feds watching. And we're going to usher in, over-communicate, not just usher in resources, but over-communicate to the community. This is illegal. These are the consequences. And I'm quite confident that information will continue to get out to those who are riding around with this illegal device.
And to piggyback off what the mayor just said, when you talk about other family members watching, some of those family members know what the people in their families or the people who come to their homes are carrying. Those are the people we need to either call Crime Stoppers, call law enforcement, and give us that information so we can take action and get those weapons off the streets of all of our communities. Because it's not, as the U.S. Attorney said, it's not just Birmingham. We see more of it here, but it's all across our state, and we never know where it's going to rear its head. So those are the people that we need to call. There are people who know, and as the mayor said time and time again, I have too, there are people who know what people are doing, who they're interacting with. That's the information that law enforcement needs. That's the missing piece that's missing here in Birmingham. If everybody really wants to know what the missing piece is, it's that community engagement. The mayor has really harped on it a lot in the last few weeks, really hard this week. That's the piece we're missing. And BPD has shown this year, if you will give us that information, we've acted very swiftly, and with some of our federal partners too, in getting people off the street within a couple hours. So we are doing our part, but we're missing that one piece, and that's what we really need today is that community engagement.
Why do you think these people don't come forward? Like now they're starting to see these homicides are being connected to other homicides,
I'm just going to be real honest. If it doesn't affect them, they don't care. Just being very honest. There's a lot of people who watch what goes on in our city and other parts of the state, but if it doesn't directly affect them, they honestly just don't care. And then there are some that are just in fear of potential retaliation. There's the other piece of maybe that person who's doing those illegal things is providing things for them. As the mayor has said earlier this week, providing safe harbor, providing things of clothing, food, shelter, other things for them. So that's why they stay with that person. Or that's why they don't say anything about what that person does. And that's just the honest truth about it.
Is the county or state going to try to match what the federal penalty is as far as?
I think that's a good question. I think I'd probably speak for the mayor. I think that we would like to see some legislation that deals with these devices. We would encourage our legislators and state representatives to please put some legislation in place so that the state of Alabama can deal with these individuals as well as the federal government.
And I was going to say one thing, too, about having the community report. I have small children. I understand that, and to the chief's point, there are some people who just live in fear of reporting. And I cannot imagine the choice of having to decide whether or not you're going to report a crime and maybe subject your family to crime and to danger versus continuing to live in a community where you don't know if your children are going to be safe playing in your front yard. I cannot imagine that situation. And I know that is a Hobson's choice. That is why I think this is an opportunity for the community. Again, you're going to see on this demonstration the firepower behind using this Glock switch. It is a machine gun. There's no need for anyone on our streets to have this type of device and this type of firepower. It is almost impossible to control the spray of those bullets and the number of bullets. Again, you would not have to testify. You simply have to report it, and we will take it from there. So this is one way that you can anonymously make a difference in your community without subjecting yourself and your family to that kind of danger or retribution that people are concerned about. So we really encourage folks to look at this as a way to make a difference in your community without bringing any problems onto yourself. So if there are any other questions, we're happy to answer them. Sorry. Yes.
You mentioned Huntsville and that they're seeing these sorts of events like they but not so much, not as much as Monday was up. Is it only a matter of kind of more like growing cities like Huntsville is starting to see much more?
I mean, I think we will continue to see it, and I think ATF would say that, I don't want to speak for Marcus, but I think he would say that this is what we are trending, where we are seeing it going. We see violent crime kind of move across the country a lot of times, and the things that happen in other places, then we watch it come here. So if we can get it out ahead of it, I think that's really important to kind of stem that tide from spreading even farther into our communities.
Is there going to be a separate prosecution for someone who's actually taking a free, fair, making those about as opposed to someone who would be carrying?
Marcus, do you want to talk a little bit about how you investigate those, or if there's a difference there? I mean, we would certainly prosecute people who are making that switch. Like I said, the switch, you don't have to use it. You don't have to have it on a gun. So if you're manufacturing it, that alone is enough to subject you to indictment, prosecution, and up to a 10-year sentence in federal prison. And also, remember, in federal prison, if you're violent, we can detain people pre-trial. We also, if you are convicted in federal prison, you will not serve your time in Alabama. You will be at a facility. So it's a way to take people out of the community, to give that community a chance to rebuild and to put some prevention and some community supports in. Does anything else you want to?
Just to maybe more directly, I think she answered your question pretty directly, but more directly, in and of itself, it's contraband. So if you're manufacturing, you never put it on a gun, you would be subjected to federal prosecution for simple possession. We'd like to know if someone knows a manufacturer, by all means call Crime Stopper, because that person's responsible for putting multiples on the street. Absolutely, we would be interested in that. The end user on the street that some law enforcement officer may pull up on and not know, absolutely, we want to know that as well. And, just to echo what the chief and the mayor said, we can't arrest our way out of this problem. We need the community piece to call Crime Stoppers, call your local police department, because at the end of the day, the violence hurts all of us. It hurts the entire community. So we do need the community's help. We can't do it by ourselves. And I think that's the end of